Hi everyone, today I will be reviewing Casablanca. So Casablanca is one of the most famous films in Hollywood history and stars Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. It's set during World War II in French Morocco, and Humphrey Bogart's character Rick Blaine is the main focus of the movie. So he has to decide whether to continue his love with Ingrid Bergman's character Ilsa or help her and her husband Victor Laszlo escape back to Europe to help fight the Nazis. Now, this film was directed by Michael Curtiz, and Michael Curtiz is actually not a particularly famous director, but he did do quite a few well-known films. So as well as directing Casablanca, he also directed The Adventures of Robin Hood, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and White Christmas. So he actually has done quite a few fairly well-known films. So aside from Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart, we also see lots of other great actors in this film. We get Sidney Greenstreet as a black market dealer in the city. We see Dooley Wilson as Sam the piano player, and Peter Law as someone who steals Rick Blaine's transit papers. And I think my favourite actor in this film is actually Claude Rains, who plays Captain Renault, and he is really a neutral character in this film who helps to bridge the gap between the French and the Germans, and he is both a friend and an enemy while really being neither at the same time. A bit difficult to explain really, but he's the most interesting character, and in every scene he's in, he is very good. So I think really this film could best be described as a romance, but just saying it's a romance would be saying it short, because it is just so much more than that. It's also a drama with lots of intrigue and mystery to it, and that really helps sell the film. It's why it's so famous. It's not just a romance story, and the reason why this film is so well received is because of the chemistry between Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. That is really what is key here. So we see when they were introduced, the first time we see them introduced, Sam playing on the piano as time goes by, which is really the theme song for this film. That is the key song to this film. You hear that a few times, and Rick Blaine, he says, "I thought I told you not to play that in here anymore." And then we see Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart stare at each other, and that is the moment when you know there is history between them. And we see their history because they knew each other in Paris. They had an affair, but Rick didn't realise because Ilsa was actually already married to Victor Laszlo. Now, Victor Laszlo, who is Ilsa's husband, I might have mentioned earlier, he's a Czech resistance leader wanting to fight against the Nazis. So we see him and Ilsa come to Rick's cafe in Casablanca. So then Rick has a bit of a dilemma, because he wants to continue a relationship with Ilsa, but at the same time he wants to do the right thing and help fight against the Nazis. Now, what is interesting about this is that the film is set in 1941, which is shortly before Pearl Harbor happened, which was obviously the event which led the Americans into World War II. So Rick is almost a metaphor for America at this point, because America at the time wasn't involved in World War II and almost wasn't sure whether, do we get involved, do they not get involved? And this is the decision that Rick is having to make, with helping Victor Laszlo escape from the country or not. What does he do? Now, it has to be said, this film has lots of quotable lines in it. I think it's one of the most quotable films of all time. So there's "Here's looking at you, kid. We'll always have Paris. Of all the gin joints and all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine." And interesting enough, the line "Play it again, Sam" was actually never said in this film. The closest we get to it is when Ilsa says, "Play it, Sam, play as time goes by." I think the reason people think that line was said on the film is because there is a later film starring Woody Allen called "Play It Again, Sam," which was obviously inspired by Casablanca. But that's not obviously part of this film. That's completely different altogether. And I have to say, Sam, I think, is an excellent character in this film, because he's always there and he's always on the piano, and the way he plays that song as time goes by is absolutely pivotal to the plot in this film. Another thing which is very good about this film is the lighting. The lighting is very key here, very key indeed. You see, Ingrid Bergman's character Ilsa, her face is always very well lit up all the time. That's meant to evoke her softness and her love and energy, whereas Humphrey Bogart's character Rick, his face is always in the shadows, it's always half lit and half with light on it, and this is to demonstrate how his choices he is split between what to do in this film. On one side, he wants to stay with Ilsa. On the other side, he wants to send her off with Laszlo so they can continue to fight the Nazis. So that is very interesting use of lighting there in this film. And I think it really does help that this film is in black and white. I can't really picture it being in colour. It almost wouldn't be the same. So yeah, that's very important. But they did also do a colorized version of this, apparently, which they haven't actually released, but you can see images of it online. But it just doesn't look the same. You just can't picture Casablanca being in colour. That just doesn't seem right to me, anyway. So I did really enjoy this film. I'm not always a big fan of romance films in general, and not really my favourite genre of film. But this one is probably my favourite romance film. If I had to make a list of my favourite romance films, this would probably be the best, and I really can see why it is one of the most well-respected films in Hollywood and why it goes down as a classic. So an excellent film altogether. So I'm giving this a rating of 10 out of 10 actually. I had to think about it. I wasn't sure whether it was a 9 or 10 out of 10, but really I think this does deserve a full 10 out of 10 for its reputation. The film came out way back in 1942, 1943, and still to this day, still regarded as a classic. And there's really not very much bad I can say about this film. Yeah, no, I'm just thinking I think it's a great film and full deserving of that 10 out of 10 rating. So that's Casablanca. Have you guys seen it? What do you think? Did you enjoy it? Did you like or dislike it? Please comment below. Let me know what your opinion is. I would love to know. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.